Yosef's brothers had sold Yosef into the hand of the Madyanim, and the Madyanim sold Yosef into Mithraim to Potiphar, an officer of Paraos, the captain of the guard. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 38. And it was at that time that Yehudah went down from his brothers and turned in to a certain Odolami, whose name was Hirah. And Yehudah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaani, his name was Shua, and he took her and went in to her. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Aunan. And she yet again bare a son, and called his name Shelah, and he was at Kezib when she bare him. And Yehudah took a woman for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. And Yehudah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh slew him. And Yehudah said to Haunan, Go in to thy brother's woman, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Haunan knew that the seed would not be his, and it was, if he came to his brother's woman, then he spoiled it on the ground, to not give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did was evil in the sight of Yahweh, and he slew him also. Then said Yehudah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow in thy father's house, till Shelah my son be grown up. For he said, Lest he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time Shua's daughter, the woman of Yehudah, died. And Yehudah was comforted, and went up to his sheep-shearers to Tamnah, he and his friend Hirah the Odolami. And it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth to Tamnah to shear his sheep. And she put off from her the garments of her widowhood, and covered herself with the veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in the gate of Ainaim, which is by the way to Tamnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she was not given to him for a woman. When Yehudah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, for she had covered her face. And he turned to her by the way, and said, Come, I pray thee, let me come in to thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in to me? And he said, I will send thee a goatling of the goats from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet and thy cord, and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave them to her, and came to her, and she conceived by him. And she arose and went away, and put off her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yehudah sent the goatling of the goats by the hand of his friend the Odolami to receive the pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Then he asked the men of her place, saying, Where is the prostitute that was at Ainaim by the wayside? And they said, There hath not been a prostitute in this place. And he returned to Yehudah and said, I have not found her. And also the men of the place said, There hath not been a prostitute in this place. And Yehudah said, Let her take it to her, lest we be put to shame, Behold, I sent this goatling, and thou hast not found her. And it was about 3 months after that it was told Yehuda, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot, and moreover, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Yehuda said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. She was one being brought forth, and she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet, and the cords, and the staff? And Yehuda acknowledged them, and said, She is more righteous than I, forasmuch as I gave her not to Shelah my son. And he experienced her again no more. And it was in the time of her labor that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it was, when she travailed, that one put out a hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, This came out first. And it was as he drew back his hand, that, behold, his brother came out. And she said, For what reason hast thou made a breach for thyself? Therefore his name was called Pareth. And afterward came out his brother, that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zarah. And Yosef was brought down to Mithraim, and Potiphar, an officer of Paro's, the captain of the guard, a Mithri, bought him of the hand of the Yishmaelim that had brought him down thither.